Hey guys, my name is Nick and welcome back to the channel, and in this video I want to have a quick chat about the brand new FAQs and errata that have recently dropped on the 7th of January and specifically how they're going to affect the Thousand Suns in this video. I'm going to do a couple of videos on this topic, one affecting the Knights because there's some points changes, but I'm looking at the secondary missions and some of the other interactions that are going to affect the Thousand Suns. So let's get straight into the video. I don't know if it was just me or anyone else, but I really wasn't expecting an FAQ to drop early January for 9th edition. This did take me a bit by surprise, given that the gaming volume is probably very, very low right now due to all the various lockdowns. There can't be that many people having serious competitive games that are going to affect the meta. But equally there are some obviously overperforming units like Eradicators and so on that did need a small tweak. So the feedback that Games Workshop must be getting must be very, very focused from the likes of the guys at Tabletop Tactics, for example, that are doing this as a business and they're able to continue playing. But for the casual people, it's probably a bit more theory hammer, so it did take me by surprise. The first mini critical change for me is determining first turn. This has now changed from being a straight roll-off where the winner determines whether they want to be first or second to, if you win, you are definitely going first. The commentators' notes on this do get rid of some of that ambiguity at the start where you overanalyze all the deployments and stuff and then start thinking about whether first or second turn is going to be important. We just get rid of that, so it just goes straight into the game. This coincides quite nicely with the second change that comes with this, which is the primary objectives taken hold / domination, where we have a new amendment to the primary objective in the mission pack, that if you go second in the final round of the game, so the 5th battle round, player who has gone second doesn't score any victory points at the end of their command phase, but instead at the end of their turn. So this kind of brings a little bit of balance to the typically powerful player going first and dominating that final round. The second player will struggle to get points. And this kind of makes a bit more of a fight to the death, a fight to the very last throw of the dice. And I think this is a great change for all factions, not just Thousand Suns. So let's talk specifically about things that are affecting the Thousand Suns right now. And there are two for me in this specific FAQ. Now this comes from the Grand Tournament 2020 mission pack. And the first one is to change to Abhor the Witch, which is a secondary objective. The previous version of Abhor the Witch was: you cannot select this secondary objective if your army includes a Psyker, but you score 5 victory points at the end of the battle for each enemy Psyker character unit destroyed and 3 points for every Psyker unit that is destroyed. Now, this would be a go-to option for anyone playing against the Thousand Suns army because pretty much all of our units are psychic. So there's been a slight tweak in this in the amount of points scored. So now it is 3 points at the end of a battle for each character and just 2 for a Psyker unit. This means that the enemy is going to have to destroy that little bit more to max out on their 15 points to Abhor the Witch. So it is a good thing equally for Grey Knight players as well, probably for some Elder players as well. But yeah, Thousand Suns Grey Knights are probably the most affected by this, where pretty much all of your army is going to have that Psyker keyword in there, either character or unit. Also affecting some of these secondaries that is going to impact specifically me, but many Thousand Suns players as well, is Bring It Down. The old version of Bring It Down would be that you'd score 2 victory points at the end of a battle for each enemy monster or vehicle model with a wounds characteristic of 10 or less destroyed, and 3 for any monster or vehicle with a wounds characteristic of 11 or more destroyed. Now this has been changed into 3 tiers now, so you only get 1 point for that 10 wounds or less, 2 points between 11 to 19, and 3 points for a monster or vehicle with more than 20. Now, a lot of Thousand Suns players will run Hellbrutes, Contempt to Dreadnoughts, Defilers, critical anti-armor type units that have got a bit more firepower from the typically close range rubrics or Scarab Occult. So we'd rely on some of these monster and vehicle type units in order to make our army work that little bit better. So we might run quite a few large vehicles or large monsters, Forge Fiends, that kind of stuff, that sit within that over 10 wound characteristic, and we were giving away quite a lot of victory points for that. That's now been toned down a little bit. Again, in a similar way to Abhor the Witch, it just means your opponent has to work that a little bit harder to get their maximum points for that secondary objective. The second part of this video, I want to talk about some speculation. We've now had a lot of information from the Death Guard releases on the Warhammer community site. The full codex, I believe, goes on pre-order this weekend, so in about 3 days' time, as of the moment I'm recording this video on the 13th of January. So yeah, we could have a little bit of a speculation now. The first up is talking about Mortarion. Now, Mortarion has been given 3 Warlord traits. So Revoltingly Resilient, which is an upgrade to Disgustingly Resilient, which has been toned down a little bit due to the wound increases, Living Plague, and Arch Contaminator. Now, I don't think we really know exactly what everything of that does specifically, but the fact is, he's now got a whole bunch of Warlord traits, meaning that a Demon Primarch is now going to be a beast. Which is what he should be. So can we translate any of that across to Magnus himself? Now, I'd like to say, if this is the direction they're going, to make some of our Demon Primarchs a little bit more powerful, then I would suspect that that Magnus is going to get something equally as good. There's also been a change to the Poxwalkers as well. So Poxwalkers are now a bit more durable. They now have a base toughness of 4. I do believe previously you had to run kind of Typhus to get all the buffs to go off with your Poxwalkers. Does this mean that the now out of favour walking, shambling Zangors, our little goat boy meat shields, are going to get something a little bit better as well? Again, speculation that if the dross of the Death Guard are going to get a little bit of a boost, and that Zangors are kind of out of favour because half of the rules now really don't work with them, maybe they're going to get a little bit of a bump as well, or even just a reduction in points perhaps. I think one of the big issues with Magnus is that to get the best out of him these days, we are having to put him in reserve, spend some CP, get him out of the way so that we can bring him on and actually do something without him getting shot off the board in turn 1 in an Alpha Strike. So let's hope that maybe he's got some decent defensive buffs pre-game with some of his Warlord abilities, rather than having to rely on him coming onto the board from reserve and then having to cast a whole bunch of defensive stuff to increase his invulnerable save and so on, to make him that bit more survivable. That would be a very interesting thing to see for me. So those are the kind of speculations that I've got going on. I know there's some buffs to the demon engines that we talked about before on the channel. So looking forward to hoping to see that the Forge Fiend and the Mauler Fiend and Mutalith Vortex Beast and so on, maybe they have some good stuff coming to them when our codex finally drops. The big thing about this video though is I want to open up that comment section to see what you guys think, of course. Do you think that those 2 key secondary mission changes are going to have a big enough impact as is, or do you think combined with a new codex, when the rubrics get their 2 wounds, when the Scarab Occult get their 3 wounds, potentially when Magnus finally gets a little bit of love, the same as Mortarion has, do we think that that is going to elevate the Thousand Sons a little bit up the so-called power rankings? Is that going to make us a little bit more viable on the tabletop, rather than let's be honest, we are all Marine fodder at the moment, Imperial Marine fodder, because their army is just so good. Now, I know we've got a lot of codexes to catch up, a lot of factions need that love in order to bring them into 9th edition balance, but do we think some of these little changes that we're seeing now are going to make a difference or make an impact on the tabletop today, rather than however many months we've got to wait for the new codex? I'd love to hear from you in that comment section below. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I shall catch you guys on the next video.